And now a highlight from Animal Radio on iHeartRadio.
Now imagine when you were a kid, that pet that you had when you were like 10 years old. Mm-hmm. If that pet was still alive today and was still your pet. Could you imagine?
Oh, my gosh. That would be an old pet for me.
Certainly. And most cats and dogs, of course, they only live, well, mostly a couple decades.
Not long enough.
Yeah.
But our next guest, Jeanna Smith, do you mind if I say your age, Jeanna?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, Gina's 65 years old, and you've had your pet since you were 10 years old.
Wow.
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of pet is it?
This is a gopher tortoise. He's a desert tortoise, so they are commonly found in Arizona or Texas.
And how did the tortoise come into your life?
Well, I loved turtles and tortoises as a girl and really wanted one that I could keep. And my father was a friend of the zoo director in Milwaukee at the time and arranged for me to get this gopher tortoise, who I have named George. And that was my 10th birthday present.
You're the first person I've ever met that has had a pet so long. How long do tortoises live?
Well, in his natural habitat, he could live 40 to 60 years. But in captivity, he may push 80 or 100.
Wow.
Now, did you know at the time as a 10-year-old girl that this was going to be pretty much a lifelong pet? Did you even think about that?
Well, I don't believe that I thought about that. I was very serious about his care and really took him every place and felt very connected to him right from the beginning. And it never occurred to me that he wouldn't be around. I guess I should put it that way.
You said you took him every place. What kind of places did you take him?
Well, even as a girl, he used to ride in my bike basket, and he'd go to my best friend's house with me. And when my family went on summer vacations, we would go to Door County in Wisconsin. My uncle had a cabin there, and George would come along for that and walk along the beach on the shores of Lake Michigan. And, of course, he went to college with me when I moved out of my parents' home.
And they allowed you to have your pet turtle there at college, huh?
I'm not sure that they were really aware that that was going on. But, of course, all my friends on the floor of my dormitory knew he was in there. But he was a very quiet pet, so I'm sure that didn't bother them.
You eventually got married. How did this affect your relationship with your husband?
Well, he does on occasion have to care for George, but he's more than willing to do that. And I think my husband is very attached to George, as I am.
Have you had any scares? Did George run away or anything ever?
Well, I can't really say he runs away. He has been lost on a number of occasions by getting out of his enclosure, and that is very frightening in Minnesota because he, of course, couldn't tolerate any cold temperatures. But I've been very fortunate in, all the neighborhood kids coming out to look for him and always have gotten him back. So we are very careful with him.
Is he microchipped?
No. I don't know how you really want to do that to a nice tortoise.
Do you have any other animals?
I do. I have a Labrador named Reggie, and he is just 2. And George has had many other dogs, all Labradors. I had Labradors as a girl, and George, of course, outlived all of them. And my 2 that I had as a adult person. So now he's on like his 5th Labrador, I think.
Whoa!
Does he get along with the dogs?
They do. You kind of have to watch because certainly a puppy would be over-curious and might feel that the chew toys. So they're really not left to their own devices, I'll say.
I'm wondering how you have a desert tortoise that survives in Minnesota.
Well, George only summers outside and spends the rest of the winter months inside the house.
Is it legal to own him where you live?
Well, it is not illegal in the sense that he was born in captivity and gifted to me many, many years ago. You can't acquire these tortoises anymore because they are on the endangered species list.
If he's 56 years old, the chances are he could live to 100, especially being protected inside. I mean, he could live to the Bieber administration. I mean,
don't say that.
What if he outlives you?
Well, I have one daughter who fortunately lives just a mile from me, and she now has 4 children, and they all love George, and George will go and live with one of her family.
Do turtles have a lot of personality?
You know, I really feel that they do. They are really charming to look at, of course. And after all this time, George certainly knows my voice and will walk towards me. You know, he's a really neat guy. I really, really think he's a great pet.
Well, we thank you for coming on the air and telling us this wonderful story. Go give George, I don't know if you'd give him a hug, what you do, give him a pat on the shell, from all of us here at Animal Radio.
I will do that, and thank you for being interested in George.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.